This is the Cafe Racer Podcast, episode 64 for October 4th, 2014. I'm Steven.
And I'm Crash. Going.
That was nice.
Yeah. I saw that, by the way.
What, the hat?
Yeah, with the hat.
I bought that for the DGR. I don't know if I'll ever wear it again, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I did this for the DGR and then decided I kind of like it, so it's stuck.
Yeah, it kind of looks like kind of Mad Men-ish, you know? Like,
yeah.
This thing...
Picture a man riding a motorcycle. He's traveling the open highways. I just need a cigarette and a secretary, and I'll be good to go.
I kind of like these caps, these driving caps, but this one's leather, and it was unbelievably hot. So there's a guy that I work with that's a cop that wears a different colored one every day, and the guy really pulls it off. He's a ball-headed guy with a big mustache, and
yeah,
this guy will wear like red ties and a red cap, you know, and it looks kind of neat. But the leather one, I ended up finding it at the last minute. I know I texted you some pictures, but there was a place in town called the Man Cave that was a men's consignment store, and they had
like a gay bar.
Yeah. Like the Blue Oyster, right?
Yeah, or the manhole.
Yeah. Oh boy. Anyway. No, it's a consignment store, and I went in there, and I was just looking for a vest, but they had a bunch of leather jackets in there. And I ended up getting this light brown Italian leather jacket, this cap, and found a KBC helmet, open face red one, that looked to be brand new. And I even waxed it up a little bit, put a sticker on the back. And then when I got back from the ride, all the plastic trim around the face was coming off. So I don't know if it was just old and the glue had dried up, but the helmet looked to be brand new. But the place was kind of cool. You know, they had some really kind of neat vintage stuff in there. He had like a selection of everything from kitschy crap for your desk to clothes to tools. Really nice bar that he had in the back that was for sale. It was cool. It was a neat place, but the cap, you know, it's probably just going to get hung up in here. And I don't know if you can see that thing over there in the corner, that mirror. That's an antique shave stand and a shaving mirror. So this will probably end up going on top of that because it's, once I wear it in the wintertime, it was really hot.
Yeah.
And then how was let's talk about how was your ride? How many people showed up in San Diego?
It was great. Other than just, you know, getting a funny haircut for the ride, I actually, just for the heck of it, I found this place. It's called Pappy's Barbershop. It's in this tattoo parlor here in San Diego, and it's a super cool place. Like really, like old school, like antique chair. The guy does straight razor shaves and everything, and like a straight razor shave and a haircut's $40, which really not a bad deal when you think about like the level of service you're getting.
Right.
But yeah, so I got my haircut, and then showed up at the ride the next day. Quick shout out to Rob. We rode together. He's a listener, and he lives here in San Diego, so we met up at basically this little like park and ride area that was kind of halfway between the two of us, and drove over to the place, which is a good thing because I had no earthly idea at that point where the ride even started. I mean, if I was going by myself, I would have taken the time to figure it out, but when we met up, I was like, I don't even know where we're going, so I'm just following you. But showed up. We were kind of early, but there were still probably 15 or 20 people there already, and they took pictures of they had a photographer there who took pictures of everybody. Like as you came in, they like had you stop in this little area, and they took a photo of you on your bike. By the time we got ready to leave, there were about 70 to 75 people there.
Wow, that's a pretty good turnout. I think Peter
Yeah.
told me that we had 80 total. Uh, it was pretty far. Like I told you, I did 200 miles round trip.
Yeah.
So I had to drive all the way down to the Wynwood district in Miami to start the ride, and then we drove to Fort Lauderdale. And then those of us that rode down from Palm Beach just left there. Everybody else rode back down to Miami. But on the way down, it was raining a little bit, and I was wearing that jacket, which really wasn't, it's not a motorcycle jacket. So I kind of like buttoned the middle button or the top button. I had a tie on, and I kind of like tucked the jacket underneath me when I was sitting in a tuck to keep it from flapping around. And I threw a canvas like messenger bag over my shoulder that had my camera and GoPro and stuff like that in there, and got drenched on the way down there and just hit a rainstorm in Hollywood. Pulled off the side of the road, waited for a little while. And originally, I wasn't going to take 95 down. I was going to meet some of the guys from the Vintage Iron Club, and we were going to take US 1, but it would have taken us like two hours to do that. So they ended up, one of them texted me and said his alarm clock didn't go off. He's going to have to take 95, so I should just leave. By the time I got down there and found the place, it was like you said, there was maybe 20 people, and then everyone just started to show up in mass. But I talked to Peter when I got down there, Peter Beach from Old Soul Youngblood, and he was like, "Hey, you got to help me out. Did you bring your camera?" Yeah, and I started taking some pictures. All of a sudden, the battery dies on the camera. I'm like, "You got to be
Oh
kidding
yeah.
me! I thought I just charged this thing." So I could shut it off, wait a few minutes, turn it back on, get like 2 or 3 shots, shut it off. So I set the GoPro up for the ride. So now the ride up to Fort Lauderdale was typical Florida. It rains on the way down there. Now it's scorching, sweltering hot,
Hmm.
and I'm wearing this
Humid
leather.
and sticky.
Yeah, just completely nasty. I'm wearing this leather jacket, but the ride was cool. We had a really good time, and it was down on US 1, so you were kind of like hugging the beach. There was some really cool bikes too. There was some neat stuff. Everybody was in the spirit of the thing, got dressed up. There were a couple guys that showed up on Harleys and Cruisers that weren't dressed, but the way I look at it is if they raised any money, or if they donated money, or they joined for the ride, then their heart's in the right place and they're supporting the charity. And I know some people were telling me, well, the people from Distinguished Gentlemen are going to tighten it up next year and no bikes that are, not 25-year-old or vintage bikes. Personally, I understand the spirit of it, but it's to raise money for cancer research. So
Yeah. I
maybe.
don't really have a problem with any people riding whatever either. I mean, we had the two people that were like leading the ride that knew the whole route were on a Yamaha FZ09 and a Triumph Street Triple.
Right. I mean, I just don't see them, excluding people because of what they ride when it's a charity. But anyway,
Mhm.
we had a good time. There was a lot of people that were riding cool bikes. I saw the BMW 9T for the first time.
Oh yeah, those are really cool.
Yeah, and seeing it in person and kind of like getting a good look at it, and I was like, man, I'm really impressed. I like this thing. It's put together really nice. And then there was a Bonneville there too that a guy had done himself, or a Thruxton, that was just absolutely incredible. Some really nice. I got some pictures of it. It was cool. We had a good time. There's probably about 5 of us from the Vintage Iron Club. The boardroom, the 430 boardroom in Broward, where we made the halfway point, was a neat place. It was a lot of fun. Met some cool people. It was. I always have a good time when I do something that's cafe racer related, because I like the crowd and the people that get involved in it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for us too. We I was doing the fill from the Cleveland Moto thing and taking pictures while riding and then sending them to people while riding. But there was a guy on a Royal Enfield Continental GT there. There was another Enfield. There was a Bullet there that was really nice looking. There was a guy T110, something like that. It's 650, I believe it was. Anyway, really beautiful sidecar attached to this thing. Way more svelte than the Ural, of which there were a few there too. There was a guy on a kilt in a Ural. We were joking that somebody should get a picture of him in like the Marilyn Monroe pose, like with the wind blowing up his kilt.
Right.
Except that one of the guys was like, yeah, but since he's a dude in a kilt, he wouldn't be holding his hands out. He'd just have his hands on his hips, like, yep, kilt's in the air. What are you gonna do? Yeah, like I said, there was a couple of people there on like modern, like actually modern bikes. Because my Triumph obviously was made in 2009 and has some modern things about it, but I don't really call it a modern bike because it wasn't built with modern technology.
I don't. I just
Yeah,
like I said, I think it's the flavor of the thing and getting your heart in the right place. And there were people out there that were on new cruisers, a couple new sport bikes. There was a couple that rolled in on a scooter with a sidecar that I thought was a Vespa,
yeah.
and turns out it's like new. It's from some Indian company he was telling me
Oh,
about, but it's almost like kind of a kit. And I think he said he paid for the whole thing with the sidecar was like 5 grand, but it was kind of
nice.
neat, And she was like in a dress with pearls. It was cool. We had a good time. The bikes. There were some nice older classic bikes, but they were kind of like you know project bikes. So it was cool.
Yeah. There was I don't remember exactly what the motorcycle was. It was a 80s Suzuki, I think, or like early 80s Suzuki GS something like GS big number, like 1000 or something like that. But uh, this little tiny, like super short girl, Danielle, was on it, and I don't think like if she were any shorter, her butt wouldn't have been able to fit to sit on the seat while she was grabbing the handlebars. Like she was so stretched out over the tank of this thing. Like she was laying on the tank all the time, whether she wanted to or not. And it was
Like a
actually kind of funny.
like a 4 foot nothing girl, riding
I
the
mean,
bike. Yeah.
yeah, she was probably like 5'1" or 2 maybe, but like the seat to handlebars distance on this bike is not very forgiving. And so it was kind of comical.
Yeah, so we're riding down US one, and they said if you get split up, don't sweat it. Stop at the lights. There's people in every group that knows where to go. All of a
Right.
sudden, this guy on, I think it might have been a Kawasaki like Z1000R,
Hmm.
was not with the group, is cutting through us, zigzagging back and forth. Guy's got shorts on. He's in total squid mode. He's
Yeah.
doing stand-up wheelies on US one, and he was like, it was obvious that he was showing off for the crowd.
Hmm.
And I just kept waiting for this guy to get clocked because he was in and out of cars, in and out of traffic, and then finally just took off. I'm like glad because he's making us look bad. There's all these people on motorcycles, but
Yeah.
it was cool. You could see people like pointing because everyone's wearing ties and suits, and they were taking
Yeah.
videos and everything. It was neat. Oh, so we get down to 4:30 boardroom, and one of the guys, I think it was either Juan or Ricky, the GoPro that they had mounted on the back of one of their bikes to take the shots from behind,
Hmm.
the mount snapped. And it
Jeez.
was, yeah, well, this part right here, like this part on the case
Oh,
broke.
really? So not even like it was the case itself that broke.
Yeah, and you could see that they had like the mount left, and then these two clear pieces were like still stuck in there.
Huh.
But one of the guys said they saw the thing come bouncing off going down the road, and they went back, circled around, tried to find it, couldn't find the location. And from what Peter said, they never did find it. They think somebody might have stopped and picked it up.
What
But
kind of, just out of curiosity, what kind of bike was it on? Like
it's
something with suspension and stuff like that?
no, you know what? I think that bike might be a hardtail. They have one of the bikes. I believe it's an XS650 that was built. I think.
Yeah. I mean, because that's something I was just thinking about. Like, because when I took my trip last summer, like not this, the past summer, I had a lot of mount failure problems, but it wasn't because, it was because of like way more vibration than the bike would normally be under. And so I was wondering if like maybe it was the fact that if the bike had no suspension, then maybe
I,
it was just under extra
yeah, I
force.
don't. I honestly don't know how many of these things actually fail on a regular basis because you see some of the videos on the GoPro website. They got them mounted to race cars, planes, like Baja 1000 cars.
Right.
But that being said, this thing, the little clip-in mount,
Hmm.
if you notice, there's no little tails on this thing because the other day I went to go take this thing off and one snapped off and then the other one.
Oh, yeah.
These little pieces here. So I'm not really sure if this is some sort of I'm going to contact GoPro and find out if this was a failure because of something I did or this is brand new. It's not like
Yeah.
a
I mean, you figure how the sheer number of cameras that they make, there's going to be a certain percentage that the parts are going to fail some, which
Yeah,
sucks.
that's a
But
part you don't want to fit. You don't want failing. I mean,
no.
I guess I would should like they didn't have the tether, the little white tether on there, but I don't honestly know if that would have made a difference or not because of how the thing broke.
Yeah,
You
I don't
know.
know. Speaking of GoPro, though, they just released some kind of big news.
Yeah, GoPro's got 3 new cameras that
Like
came
three
out.
new cameras, including one of them that's like 120 bucks, is it?
$129. They
Yeah,
just
probably
call it
still takes better video than the one I've got.
it's called the Hero, just the regular Hero,
Yeah.
and the specs on it for $129 are pretty impressive. There's no Wi-Fi. It's 1080p by 30 frames a second, 5 megapixel photos up to 5 frames per second. Um, quick capture super view, auto low light settings, and the 131-foot waterproof case, 40-meter case. For
Yeah.
$129, can't go bad. There's no
Oh
Wi-Fi
yeah.
in it.
Well, I mean that's basically all of the specs of my Hero 2 that I have, only probably a better sensor because they've been upgrading the sensor like every time. So
The one that I'm really interested in for an all-around consumer camera is I believe it's just called the Hero 4, and
you're
this thing's
talking
got a built-in
the one with the screen on the back?
monitor built in, yeah,
Yeah, that's
which
the
is a touch
silver.
screen too.
Yeah, the Hero 4 Silver is what that one is.
Right.
Because the fun thing is like the difference between the Hero 4 Silver and the Hero 4 Black is the Black does like slightly faster frame rates and better resolutions, but doesn't have a screen on the back.
Yeah, and I think the black.
The Black is the like absolute balls out crazy, pinnacle of everything one.
It's really that's really the black's really a broadcast quality camera, with
Mhm.
4K. I don't think well, I don't say ever, but I don't see myself right now using the 4K setting.
No, I mean in all the videos that I've ever uploaded anything, I even stick to like 720p because it's just such a smaller file size to deal with.
So yeah, here's the difference between the two. So, and it's got this music playing, but apparently the Hero 4 Silver is the same price as what I paid for my 3 Plus Black. 399.99 is what it's listed at.
Okay.
It's 1080p 60 frames per second and 720p at 120 frames, 12 megapixel 30 frames per second burst rate. So the difference is they've incorporated the 4K 30 and 2.7K 50 into the Hero Black, and that's $100 more. So you're
I
getting
kind of wished the Hero, because like basically with the Hero 4, they took the price points they were already at and just added one above it. And I was really hoping that with the Silver, the Hero 4 Silver would be the same price as the Hero 3 Silver was, which was like 50 or $100 less than the top.
I think it was $100 less.
Yeah, it was like $299 instead of $399.
Right.
Because for $299, I might be able to talk myself and my wife into letting me get another one. Maybe. Probably not.
And then the Hero 3 Silver is $299. So, and they don't make. I guess they're not making the Hero 3 Black anymore. What I like about the Hero 4 Silver, the value to that screen is setup, because
Oh yeah.
yeah, what I did the other day with the camera mounted to the helmet, and as you can see, I've got like the 90-degree mount, kind of going on there, but
Mm-hmm.
if I had it over here on the side instead of on top, was set my phone up with the Wi-Fi first so I could
Yeah.
kind of look at it, because I made that mistake on the trip where I had the camera aimed too low.
Yeah, that's what I've always done. That's what for me, because I don't have the Wi-Fi built in. I have the Wi-Fi backpack that goes on the back of the Hero 2.
Right.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, I've actually used this thing a bunch lately for a college class because I had to videotape myself giving speeches to an audience, and the combination of the really wide angle and the fact that I could just set it in the corner and then used the Wi-Fi, with the app to just turn it on and off. Made it so much nicer.
I'm waiting to see what the video looks like from this because I shot it. I actually kind of sped up next to people and got them to wave and everything. But because Peter lost their camera, I gave him my card when I got to the boardroom. So I haven't seen any of my video yet. Peter has it all. So if you kind of watch the Old Soul Youngblood website on Facebook and they finally get that video done, some of that on the road video should be mine. Peter wasn't on a bike. He was in a car and he was kind of like up ahead of people and he'd stop and he did some shots of all of us pulling in that I think he shot with his Canon 5D. But this, hopefully this time, and I'm still learning the camera and learning the right settings and learning, how wide is too wide on that thing. So we'll see how it comes out. I'm kind of excited to see if I got decent video this time. Obviously the audio is useless in that case and on the motorcycle, but
yeah, usually.
Yeah, it should be kind of cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the Sena camera when I go to AIM again, because the one I saw last year was a prototype. It wasn't real.
Right.
So now they have this thing out, and GoPro's Action Cam too. They had a booth there, so we'll see. Speaking of that, we got some big news. You want to talk about it?
Sure.
So this week, we were hoping to have Mark McKee, the CEO of Ace Cafe USA, on with us tonight, but he had some family engagements. But I'm going to try to talk to him and interview him during the week for like a special edition before the AIM Expo.
Yeah.
And he's got some big news, and there's going to be some events going on at AIM that I've been hinting to, but there's some cool stuff happening, and I think I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the Ace Cafe booth at the AIM Expo.
So it sounds like if you're in Florida, you need to get yourself to the AIM Expo because it's going to be cool.
It's going to be super cool, and there's more and more people now announcing stuff that's going on there. Like the Kawasaki's going to have the H2. I read today that Ducati's going to have the Scramblers there. So every day there's more really cool news coming out of AIM. We're going to have a friend of ours with us, Scott Bolton from the Bench Racers International podcast, is going to be with me doing interviews for us. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. He's actually getting in a day before I am. I'm coming in on Thursday night, and I'm going to bring one of the bikes with me because there's going to be a cool ride going on from Biketoberfest in Daytona to the AIM Expo that has something to do with the Ace Cafe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe next year I will be in a position where I can make my way out there as well.
Yeah, if you can work it out, and I have a lot of resources here, so it's you can get picked up at the airport, you can stay at my house until we go to the thing, or go right there. We'll work it out, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Every day they drop some new news about.
Yeah, it gets more exciting every day, I swear.
Yeah, and then we have, like I said last show, we have the International Motorcycle Show coming. The one that I think it's Progressive that does, right? Or Geico? Progressive.
It's Progressive, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be in Miami in January. But this is going to be big because more and more people are looking at the value of AIM and how many people come and the whole press opportunity. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, there's the Progressive show in Long Beach is going to be here in the near future, and I'm hoping to be able to go. I need to submit for press credentials this year again.
Harley Davidson also announced that they're going to have demo rides at AIM. So if I can, I'd like to get a ride on one of the street and see what they're like. And I'm hoping Indian's going to have a Scout there to demo as well. So that's really cool. I'm stoked about it. So speaking of the Scrambler, what do you think?
So I'll go ahead and say the first time I saw it, the first appearance was I was sitting in here trying to work on homework, and my son came in and he wants to sit on my lap and look at motorcycle videos. He likes motorcycle videos and airplane and helicopter videos. So
he's a dude,
Yeah,
that's what dudes like.
And so he's sitting there. He's like motorcycle. And I'm like, all right, so I have two monitors, so I can work on one monitor and put a video up on the other. And so I open up YouTube, and I noticed that Jamie Robinson at MotoGeo has a Ducati Scrambler unveiling video, and I was like, okay, I'll take a second to watch this. So the very first time I saw it was Jamie in a studio pulling like a cover off of the new Scrambler, and the one that was under the cover is the yellow one. I'm not a fan of yellow, really, on pretty much anything.
The one they call the Icon?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Scrambler Icon, which at first I was like, okay, retro-styled bike, cool. I was kind of on the fence about it, especially with if you look underneath the frame, there's some like plastic shroud underneath, like right underneath the tank under the frame. And I don't know, maybe it was just the lighting or whatever, but it seemed to stand out to my eye a lot. And so I was kind of...
Is that the airbox underneath?
I don't know, maybe. Could be.
You know what? I bet it is, because where
yeah.
it's right there, it looks like those are the throttle bodies underneath it.
It probably is. So I'm looking at this video, and I didn't have a lot of time to look at it. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll look at that some more later. And then I was scrolling around Facebook, and Alicia, the moto lady, had a picture of a green one with a high front fender. And I was like, wow, that one, something about that one really looked cool to me. And so I went over to scramblerducati.com, which is where they have like what all the bikes, you know, because there's 4 different models. And this one with it's like the green tank and front fender with like the high beak style front fender, like a dirt bike fender.
Right.
Definitely my favorite. It's called the Urban Enduro.
Yeah, me too. I like that one too.
It just looks kind of Mad Maxy, and I don't know. I like the brown seat.
The headlight protector thing.
Yeah.
I like the way the exhaust looks on these things. I like the spoked wheels.
You know, overall, both times, in my opinion, that Ducati has done a classic-styled motorcycle, they have done better, in my opinion, than Triumph. Triumph's bikes look old, and then when you get into the technology that they're like the suspension technology or the, you know, whatever, they look old inside too. And the things that I like about the Ducati are that it looks retro and vintage or whatever, but it's an LED headlight. They're upside down, decent quality forks. You know, a nice, good quality monoshock in the back. You know, in the back. You know, they spent a lot of time making sure that the bike is, you know, up to modern standards as well.
It says it's got an underseat USB.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, are they kidding me? Like, there's a freaking USB plug under this thing?
Yeah, no, it's kind of cool.
My guess is that it's compatible. Yeah, my guess is that the USB is more compatible with Apple devices than Android devices, but that's another tale for another time.
What do these things cost? Because I haven't really looked at it.
So they range from, if I remember correctly, they range from like $89.99 to $99.99. There's each model is a slightly different price.
Yeah, so it's in the same ballpark as the Triumph, Scrambler, Thruxton, and Bonneville.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about strictly performance, out of the box, supposedly, you know, if the numbers are to be believed, more horsepower than a Bonneville or a Thruxton.
So we're looking at 803 cc's, 75 horsepower with 50 pounds of torque.
Yeah, so you can apparently get
700 RPM, 50 pounds.
You can get that Scrambler Icon, the Icon version, in red. And the pictures of the bike in red on the website, I think, look better than yellow by a long shot. But
this is a cool bike, you know, and it's not bad. And comparing to the BMW prices, you know, because I think the BMW is what, like 14 or 15 or maybe 16?
Yeah, it's a hefty price tag for that R9T.
Now that bike's got, I think it's 110 horsepower.
Yeah, the R9T is beautiful, but yeah,
the Ducati weighs they're saying claimed wet weight's 423 pounds,
which is a good 70 pounds lighter than my Bonneville.
Really?
Yeah.
70 pounds lighter?
Yeah, the Bonneville's right around 496 or something.
Yeah, I saw some people make some comments about, well, it's too heavy to really be a Scrambler, and
well,
honestly,
sure.
Well, yeah, of course, but those are the same guys that'd probably be better off riding, a real true dual sport or some bike built into a scrambler. The I read an article about the 9T and what the designer was looking to do, and I think this is a big departure too for BMW. I think Ducati, building this bike, they've done this before. They built the modern classics or the classic retro bikes in the past. Now, I hope that because of the current condition of the motorcycle market and what people are buying and the fact that everyone's like trying to get some sort of retro bike or some sort of a cafe racer, that they'll start to sell these things. And if the cost of the 1000 GTs and the Paul Smart and things like that are any indication, these are going to sell because those bikes are selling like crazy, the old ones on eBay.
Yeah.
The market segment, what they went for in the 9T, this completely different departure from what BMW's done in the past. I think this bike is really, really, really cool. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking at it, and I didn't realize how much variation you could do to the bike, and it's like kind of meant to be customized. So the rear seat can come off completely, the rear fender and tail light section, and it's an aluminum tank that was specifically designed for this bike. The upside down forks, the exhaust, the way it sounds, it's just such a cool bike.
Yeah. Something I just noticed kind of flipping between two of them. So they all pretty much have the same exhaust except for that full throttle one has Terminioni mufflers. And they look completely different. Like they're two little shorty, like shotgun barrel looking deals. But the Classic has like a full-on rear fender that none of the other ones have. Like, I'm kind of surprised by how much variation there are between these couple of different models.
You notice too where the Urban Enduro where the tag is compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah,
like the tag's coming off the fender. Yeah. I don't know. These are neat. I don't really mind the kind of plasticky airbox looking thing, but
I honestly think it might have just been like the lighting in that particular video, or maybe it's just the yellow kind of drives me nuts.
I'll get some pictures of these when I'm at AIM. Hopefully I can get a picture of me sitting on the thing. What would really be cool is if they had demo rides.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ducati does demo rides. I did one in Daytona. That's when I did the Diavel, but maybe they will,
Yeah. The only thing that it almost makes me sad because this bike is extremely compelling to me, and I would have to sell the Bonneville to get one. So
yeah, I know.
It's like
I can't really afford another bike right now, honestly. I'd love to have something else, but so it's the same thing too. Looking at the BMW, there's a bunch of different they kind of did this thing a little differently. There's a bunch of different variants of this. You can select different types of exhaust. I don't know if this is. I don't think this is stock. I think it looks like these are optional, and it says available as optional equipment. So they have different silencers on here, and then the rear tail section variants, I think, it comes with everything, and you basically can just change it the way it looks by yourself. The one thing, they have got this one shot of it where the whole tail section's gone, so all you have is a little seat, but I don't see where the tag or lights are on that.
I don't know. Ducati's done this like mounted to the swing arm license plate thing / mudguard a couple times, and like it's on the Diavel, and I kind of like it. If I actually had thought about trying to make something like that for the Bonneville, but my fabrication abilities are kind of crap, so it would look like a third grader did it.
It's okay. I like this better. I'm looking at the Icon now, and this thing's cool.
Absolutely.
It's pretty neat.
Looks
I
better.
Definitely see me having one of these things.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll go buy some skinny jeans and grow a beard and.
Perfect. You're good to go. I mean, I've already got silly hair, so I'm not legal. Like I'm not allowed to grow a beard, so I can't do that. But I mean, I could wear skinny jeans and have my slick back hair. So
Speaking of the hair, how'd that go over at work?
it's fine. It's funny actually. Like half of our ordnance shop has like hair kind of like this in one way or another. Because this isn't out of Navy regulations in any way.
That's where you said there's a bunch of hipsters in the Navy.
Oh yeah, totally. So it was kind of funny because their rating in the Navy is AO, and I'm working on getting some of their qualifications. And I came into work one day and somebody was like, "Nice hair." I was like, "Yeah, I'm trying to get my AO quals, so I figured I'd have AO hair."
Nice.
Because like half their shop has like a pump or like slick back hair or like they all spend way more time on their hair than they do working.
All right, so there's another bike I'm drooling over right now.
What's that?
Well, I'm afraid to tell you, but
Are you embarrassed?
No, because it's just purely from styling. It's got nothing to do with whether or not the bike's any good. Because I don't know, I've just really kind of started looking into it, but I think it's strictly the way it looks. But it's the XJR 1300, the Yamaha. Have you seen this thing?
I think I have, but I'm looking it up again just to
It's the
refresh
stripped
myself.
down version of the FJR. I don't know if
Oh
they're
yeah.
coming out in the United States or not. I don't know if it's coming here. But
This is the one that's kind of like the CB1100, but by Yamaha.
yeah, but it's a lot cooler, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Yamaha is typically more more badass than Honda.
It's got this goofy looking. I'm not sure if it's like a number plate thing on the side, this round disc kind of. I'm not 100% sure what that thing is, other than some sort of cover.
I'm trying to see where you're talking about, like down, like the
Right, but below the seat tank junction.
the clutch cover area where it's like a different color.
No, not that.
Well, I don't know what you're
There's a
talking
big circle.
about. Really?
Yeah.
Wonder what picture you're looking at.
Hold on a second.
Oh, okay. I think I see the thing you're talking about.
All right, now hold on a second, because there's two different. I'm looking at two different variations of this bike.
The thing that has like the 3 holes in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that now.
So
Man, they got some serious hipster pictures of this thing. They're like Instagram filtered and everything.
I guess this bike's been out for a while in Europe because the 2013 one looked a little different.
Yeah.
This is the 2015 thing.
Okay, I see it now.
Yeah.
It's got like a flat track styled seat, but you could actually put a person on it maybe. Yeah, that's like a number plate-esque.
I don't know what the hell it is, but I don't know. It's kind of growing on me a little bit. I like the way the motor looks.
It's like a
Rear
fungus.
suspension. It's a fun guy.
It grows.
I've seen some pictures of this thing with a little bikini fairing on it, and it was really kind of cool. Yeah, I dug it.
Could they possibly have taken a single picture without a guy in jeans, flannel, and a beard? I'm really curious.
This is your generation.
This is my generation.
You silly hipsters, you.
Yeah, that's okay. They're all right.
I actually like hanging out with them.
I'm digging the bike. Now, this blue and white looks really good.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
cool.
I own a blue and white bike already, so I mean, I'm biased, but
I haven't spent. I heard James and Chris talking about it the other day, and I was like half paying attention. But when I saw it, I'm like, I gotta go check this thing out. I'm like, oh man, that's really kind of cool.
I am woefully behind on anybody else's podcast.
Hey, listen, ask me anything about ambulance and fire department accreditation right now, and I'm your guy. But
oh, I understand. Like if you want to talk to me about introduction to public speaking
right.
or environmental science, like I'm on top of it. Or maybe even Tucson, Arizona, like where to eat in Tucson, Arizona, because I spent 2 weeks there. But other than that, I am useless and dumb.
I get this. I was in a class for 3 days on some administrator's class for some records management system we use, and we're at lunch and I get this phone call from this really bizarre phone number, like 35 digits that started with a 9, and just like
I was like, what's so bizarre about a phone number?
Well, it's just weird, It wasn't like a number, and I'm like, I'm not answering that. And one of the guys next to me is like, Yeah, that's one of those scam things, where they they can take all your information when you answer the phone. So, well, then I get a voicemail from it. Well, lo and behold, it's Christy in an airport in
So it wasn't a
Bombay.
scam. It
No.
was, well, it might have still
What?
been a scam, but
She leaves me this message. She says, "You're probably not going to recognize the number, but I got a bunch of minutes I got to use up." And I'm like, I better not call it back, because then those are my minutes. So then she called back in a few minutes, and I kind of chatted with her about her trip. But that was just, I thought it was funny that I get this
yeah,
weird number, and it's somebody weird calling me.
weird indeed. So something that's hard to see on the blue and white tank one, if you're on Yamaha's website and you scroll over to the pictures where they have the flat black or the flat gray tank pictures,
Right.
that is a very angular tank. Like
Yeah, it's got a.
like the knee cutouts are very sharp.
That's kind of what I like about it. See,
I do
like,
too.
I don't like the flat gray one.
No, it looks bad, but
Yeah.
but you can see the contours of the tank really clearly.
Right. No, I like that. I think that's neat, and that's something that BMW did in the 9T too. They've got these aluminum. The tank's all aluminum on that bike, but there's
Mhm.
cutouts for the bars or for the forks, and
Yeah.
then for your knees, and there are these aluminum plates on them. I'll tell you the truth. The more I look at these bikes in general, these standards, the more I
Mhm.
like them. The more I'm
Yeah.
starting to really dig it. The only one I still don't like, no matter what, not when I see it in person, is that SR400. I've seen some now, some press pictures that were done for magazine articles where guys are riding them, and the bike looks to me like it's bent like a banana. I don't know if it's just an optical illusion because of the tank and seat line, but the bike's got this weird curve like
Like
this.
sway back,
Yeah,
like a horse that's back is
right.
no longer
Some old
capable of
mule
supporting. Yeah.
right, some poor old nag. That's what I mean. I just don't like the way the thing looks. Again, you know how I am. I'll probably go see it and go, "Oh, that bike's really cool," but doubtful. The more I look at this Yamaha, though, the more I'm like, man, this thing is really neat.
It does look good. I
They got an all
have to
black
look at-
version too.
Yeah, it's funny though because it's if you look at the bike, there's nothing painted on the entire bike except the tank. So the only thing that they change from color to color is the tank. Um, I'm not I'm not in love with the tail section of it, but that I could change that in a minute anyway.
It looks like they did a bunch of different builds too, some project bikes. And you know
Mhm.
what I saw? Maybe they'll have something like this at AIM, like they did with the Bolt, which was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that was
Again, I
really
don't know. I don't know if this bike. I don't think this bike is available in the United States this year. I don't believe it is.
probably not.
I mean, I could probably look on Yamaha's website, but
I do like the fact that it looks like it has some pretty primo suspension in the rear at least. I mean, it doesn't have upside down forks in the front, which it doesn't really matter as long as the internals are good. But looks like, I mean, in all the pictures I've seen, it's all in the back,
right.
which, I mean, I'm kind of biased about, I have a,
Are those actually Olin's?
it looks like it. I have an axe to grind about suspension, so it's kind of my one of brakes and suspension are the things that I like to complain about my motorcycle about.
98 horsepower. I bet this thing weighs a lot though.
Probably.
1250 cc's. Let me see here what it says. Yeah, Olin's rear suspension. Sure is.
Yeah.
Air cooled.
Wet weight 240 kilograms, 240 kg in pounds, 529 pounds.
It's a pig.
So she's not light.
No. It's a
I
big
mean, but then
bike.
again, when you think about it, it's a 1300cc air-cooled motorcycle.
Right.
The Bonneville's an 865cc air-cooled motorcycle, and it weighs almost 500 pounds. To pick up an extra,
Yeah.
500 cc's and only pick up an extra 30 pounds, like, not
I
too
don't
bad.
care about riding a big bike, I mean, I like riding a 600-pound motorcycle. It's stable. I'm not jumping stuff on it or.
Yeah.
Speaking
had
of my
that-
600-pound motorcycle, I have not ridden it.
No?
No, because I don't have any tires. Can you believe those PR4s are still back ordered.
Popular tires.
Yeah, they say, from what the guys with Jupiter Cycle tell me, that's is their most popular tire right now, and it appears that they're selling like crazy. Now I heard today that Continental, I read something that Continental has a new tire between their Trail Attack and their TKC 870. There's a TKC 80. It's a new tire.
The TKC 80 is old. Maybe it's
Then
the
it's the
TKC
70.
870.
Yeah,
Or-
it's a kind of in between. The Trail Attack's really kind of more of a street tire, so it's kind of that. It's a large block knobby.
Mhm.
And maybe we'll see how that works out too. I like these tires that are like that, and then we're getting way off course again. Rat
Ah, who
horn, but
cares? Oh
anyway,
yeah.
so I haven't ridden the Stelvia
870.
for God knows how long. The front tire's in. I should just take the front tire off and take it over there and have that mounted to save some time. But the rear's still back ordered, and it's kind of killing me because I want to ride.
Yeah, I bet.
Man, this I'm looking at some of the detail shots on this XJR.
Mhm.
It's a nice bike. It's put together really nice.
Yeah, I was just looking at the like gauge cluster and idiot light area. It's really clean looking.
I'm kind of excited to see the Cowie 2, the H2, even though that's not something I would typically look at or buy. But
Oh no, I'm not, I wouldn't buy one ever really, but it's impressive.
yeah,
It's just like when I see like a Bugatti Veyron come out or something like that, I'm like, wow, that's extremely impressive. I don't actually want one, but
hey, speaking of impressive, I saw my father-in-law has the new Corvette. And
oh yeah,
yeah, man, what a good-looking car. And for what he paid, I thought these things were like six figures. They're not. It was, I don't want to talk about what he spent on a car, but it was really reasonable. And he ordered it from out of state. But man, what a good-looking car that thing is. For an American supercar, that thing is hot. It's probably one of the best-looking Corvettes I've ever seen. That would be something, that if I was going to be frivolous, like, not like a Bugatti or a Lamborghini or something like that, I like that car. Oh man, I keep looking at this Scrambler. This thing is really cool.
I know. Honestly, the high mudguard one really makes me think of the Hyper Motard, only retro style. I mean, because the Hyper Motard was not not an off-road bike in any sense of the word either.
No.
But it had some dirt. It was basically a street bike that looked dirt bike-ish.
I mean, honestly, any one of these variations of the Scrambler, hold on a second. I think we might be getting a guest here.
No.
No. I'm
No?
looking at our Facebook page. But let me send him a text real quick and see if he wants to come on. But any one of those bikes, you could make a case to say that you could throw some knobbies on it and take it off-road. You know what I mean? I mean, they don't have long suspension. Is the suspension travel any different on that Urban than the other ones, or are they the same? It's just a different position for the mudguard.
Yeah, I think everything else is the same.
Hold on here. Let me send Dan a text real quick and see if he wants to come on and talk about the show coming up.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna look up. I'm pretty sure.
We're getting there's a bunch of chatter going on our Facebook page.
Yeah, I was engaged in some of it.
Okay, you're a troublemaker.
Maybe. Maybe.
So they've got, I know what Dan wants to talk about, and I'd love to have him on right now if he can make it, because I'll send him a link. But their festival's coming up, Vintage Iron Club, and it's going to be big. Yeah. He can't. He's doing a photo shoot. Anyway.
I honestly think from looking at this Scrambler, if I could like mix and match a couple things, like there's a if you go to the specs, or I guess you don't have to go to specs. You just keep scrolling down. At
Hmm.
the very bottom, there's a shot where you can see all four side by side. And if I could have like the Urban Enduro, but with the rear fender off the Classic, I think I'd want that. Like that really long, high up rear fender. For some
Right.
reason, I
Like an
like
old school
that.
dirt bike fender.
Exactly. So like the
Yeah.
whole thing, like the high front fender and the high rear fender, and it would make one heck of a bike
Well,
to like go to and from work or carve
the
up
truth,
some twisties.
yeah, the truth of the matter is, who's to say you can't? Who's to
Oh,
say
I'm
that you
sure you
can't
could.
go? I mean, I doubt that these things are, have different bolt patterns and things like that. It's all the same bike. So, yeah, that'd be kind of neat. I would definitely do that. Now that I look at that, now that you mention it, the lines would make sense on there.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because it looks like the bars are all pretty much the same. The tank's the same. Even the seat. I think they're just, yeah, that's kind of neat. That would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some variations, kind of like in the Bonneville Thruxton Scrambler thing. There's some unexpected variations in there that certain things won't mount up correctly because they had to make certain changes. But
So here's the only downside to this bike
the only
is,
one.
well,
Are you
and
going to
this
say service interval?
the cost of ownership
Yeah.
on Ducati.
Yep.
It's I think BMW might even be in the same boat,
Yeah.
It's I know that now the I'm looking for the intervals on the I don't think it says it on here. Because I think they're 15,000 now, like on the Multistrada and the newer bikes, the valve adjustments. But you're still doing oil changes at about the same intervals as other motorcycles. I think you and I had this conversation the other day,
Yeah.
and the cost of what a valve adjustment costs. But and I don't know, this bike looks like it may be easier to work on than some of the other ones. But then again, I don't know. That back cylinder looks like it's buried underneath the tank.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easy to get to, I don't know. It's just that's the one thing
Probably not.
about Ducatis. I think the cost of ownership is higher than most bikes. And if I'm wrong, send me an email and tell me I'm wrong. But um, that's the one thing about them. And everybody that I hang out with that have owned like the super sports in the past. There's a few of them that kept them. They're diehard
Hmm.
Ducatista, but a lot of these guys get rid of them. They're like it's just too expensive down the bike. And I've heard that with people that own Multistradas, and I love the Multistrada. I think it's a cool bike, but I don't know. Maybe if it was in line with what it costs to own any other motorcycle, like the Triumph or the Guzzi or the Japanese bikes,
Um,
it's the price point's right in line with everything else.
so if you were to go out right now and buy a Monster 696,
Hmm.
um, you'd be doing valve adjustments every 7,500 miles. I could have swore they were up to 10 at least.
Yeah, I thought it was 15 on the Multistrada, but I could be wrong.
I'll look it up. I'm on
While you're looking
Ducati's
it up,
main
I'm gonna
website now.
I'm gonna read a letter I got from one of
Yeah.
the listeners. Um, it's in regards to that Couch.com we were talking about.
Oh yeah.
So this is from Kurt Watera, and he writes, Steve, on your last episode there was talk of Couch.com. I was surprised that you didn't mention the Red Knights Firefighter Motorcycle Club. When you join, you get a list of members across the country who are willing to help out other members with breakdowns, towing, emergency lodging, and tents in the backyard. If you aren't a member, you should check them out, Kurt. So,
Hmm.
Kurt, I've heard of the Red Knights before, and I didn't know a whole lot about it, so I went and I did a little bit of research. There were some guys that I knew that worked for one of the local departments down here that were involved, and they were kind of, one reason I never looked into it, it was more of the cruiser three-piece patch, vest type of club. Whereas the Motorcycle Sport Touring Association is very similar to this in the fact that they publish a members guide that is very detailed. It's across the United States, and it talks about, who has what available as well, from tools to lodging to towing services. The same thing like you were mentioning here. The Red Knights Motorcycle Club doesn't require and I thought it was interesting. It doesn't require any type of um, actually, well, I might be confusing them now because there's I think the one I'm thinking of is the IAFF one. There's the International Association of Firefighters Club, which doesn't require any type of prospect or probationary period. The only requirement is that you were a member of the International Association of Firefighters. The Red Knights one I'm not 100% sure about. I do recall remembering that on the IFF one, which again is kind of the same thing. So I was at this we go to this thing once a month, some retired guys. We do this thing called the beach smoke. Everybody gets around there smoking cigars, and I met a guy from a fire department down south that was telling me about the IFF club, and they had just come back from a firefighters memorial in Colorado Springs, and he mentioned about another guy that I know from one of the other departments that was asked to take off of his vest in Daytona by another club. So, honestly, I've never really gravitated toward that kind of thing, and it's not something I really want to, unless I could be a member and not wear the garb, because it's just not me. I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm traveling someplace and be approached by people to say, what's that jacket you have on, or what is that patch, and why are you wearing it, and are you approved, or whatever the case may be. So there are a lot of organizations around the United States that are motorcycle type clubs like MSTA, I think the BMW Owners Group, the Moto Guzzi Owners Club, where they publish a members list that has resources like this. The other thing is too, on ADV Rider, there's a page on the forum where there's a tent page where you can go on there and say, hey, I'm going to be in this area on this given time, and there's a lot of members on there that'll say you can pitch a tent in my yard, or I have got lodging for you. So that's kind of common. But I do appreciate the heads up on this, the Red Knights, and I looked into their local chapter and saw what their events were, and I might hook up with some of the guys and talk to them. But it seems like a lot of them here, the ones that I knew were much older guys, all pretty much Harley riders and retired. But again, thanks for the email, Kurt. I appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously. So while you were doing that, I checked, and you're right. The Multi does have a 15,000 mile valve clearance check. I guess the 696 did not benefit from whatever technology the Multi benefits from.
I don't know that. Even at 15,000 miles, you still have to have the oil intervals not that long. So you still have to have oil changes done. And
yeah, the oil interval was 7,500 miles for the Multi. But I mean, I'm gonna do that myself. If I bought a Scrambler, I'd be doing the oil changes myself, and I'd probably after the first one, do the valves myself if I could, if that's possible.
So speaking of other events coming up, what do you got coming up in your area? Anything?
Other than the twice a month Moto Monday thing at Cerberus, I haven't really found anything else. I guess something that I did find out about while I was at Distinguished Gentleman Ride was, I guess there's a meetup group for like a cafe racer meetup group that I'm gonna look into and see when they get together, and maybe try to hang out with them, because a bunch of people that were there were like, oh yeah, I found out about it from the meetup group, and they're like, how did you find out about it? I was like, well, I'm an idiot and didn't bring any cards, so I can't give them to you, but I do a podcast.
Somebody else did that too.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure where they are. I'm sure I could find them quickly, but I do now have a bunch of more stickers. I don't know if you bought anything from the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride store, but I wanted a patch, and the patch that I wanted sold out, so they sent me a different patch, which is the mustache one that says Ride Dapper. But then they were like, and we threw in a bunch of stickers because we couldn't send you the right patch. So they sent me like a whole bunch of little round ones that are like, an inch and a half across maybe. And then when I say a whole bunch, I mean 4 or 5, and then 4 or 5 like bigger ones too.
I got a bunch of stuff last year because I raised like over a certain amount of money, This year I didn't, but never did anything with the ones I got last year, so I still have them, and I'll probably throw that patch on that. Well, I'm gonna go back to the man cave, and the guy had a cool bomber jacket there for pretty cheap, an old used leather bomber jacket.
Yeah.
So I may pick that up and throw some patches on that. You know, I'm kind of getting to the point now where, and I noticed that Icon came out with some new stuff that's kind of
Yeah.
neat looking. Yeah,
They did. Those new boots are really cool.
yeah, new boots, new jackets and stuff. But I'm kind of thinking I'm gonna go the route of just getting some armor that you can wear underneath the jacket
Mm-hmm.
and go with one of these, because some of these, like in his store, the stuff in there, you know, it'll have like a $90 price tag on it, and I'm like, hey, what do you want for this? Be like, $40.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they're nice jackets. He's actually got a nice black long leather jacket that's got a belt that kind of looks more like the Belstaff jackets.
Mm-hmm.
So I may do that and just get a set of armor to put underneath it, some D3O, like a carrier type thing, you know, that's got the armor all kind of built into like a little zip-in shirt you wear.
Yeah.
I kind of dig that. You know, that way I can wear any jacket I want. And I'm so much in love with the Deer Tour gloves I have from Lee Parks. I might get a pair of black ones while I'm at AIM as well. I've got the tan ones.
Yeah.
Those are nice color.
If you're a lady looking for some cool looking like retro styled motorcycle gear, Icon's 1000 collection is really, really cool.
It is really nice, but
There's
it's
some gorgeous stuff in
yeah.
there.
Go Rockets. Did I mention that as well too?
Yeah.
Go Rockets got new stuff coming out. It's kind of neat looking.
I know you and I had both talked about those Icon the Elsinore boots or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Elsinore boots. And the new prep boots that Icon has are basically the same idea, but with a different closure system that
Mm-hmm.
I really want. Like I'm really thinking about possibly selling a pair of boots I have and getting some of these.
Well, I'll tell you what. I got this new office, my new studio that I'm sitting in here that I'm still working out the details on. I got a room full of stuff I got to get rid of on eBay. That's
Oh, yeah.
photography related from when I sold the Canons. So if anybody's likes think tank gear, I got a ton of it. So if you're into that stuff, email me and I'll send you a list of what I have before I put it on eBay. But it's all made for the bigger cameras, and now that I'm shooting a Micro Four Thirds, I don't need any of it.
You know, one interesting thing, I don't think I even mentioned this to you at all. I happened to be cruising around Facebook a couple weeks ago, and Chris from the Pace podcast was like talking about a motorcycle that he's like, yeah, I just need to get a CBR 600 wheel to put on it, but they're so expensive, and I happen to have one in my garage. So
Did you call him?
yeah, well, I sent him a message on Facebook. I was like, "Hey, man, I got a wheel. Let me know. Like, let me know what you know. We'll make a deal for this thing because it has been. I've been dragging it around for 3 years. Haven't done anything with it. It just needs to get out of my garage.
Speaking of the
So-
Pace podcast,
I hope the wheel's treating him well.
I'm having dinner with James and I think Chuck Brewer as well.
Oh, nice.
I think we're all meeting at AIM.
Oh, that's cool.
with-
Chuck is
along
weird.
with-
Chuck, if you're listening, you're weird. It's okay. I like you though.
It's James and myself, Scott Bolton, and Chuck. We're all going to have dinner.
Nice.
That'll
It's gonna be like a
be fun.
podcast meetup.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be cool. We'll have a good time. And speaking of another pod, I gotta really make a shout out to Phil Waters, because he's been helping me with some issues with the Stelvio, and he's gone out of his way to make some phone calls for me, and he's been calling me back and kind of giving me updates on some stuff that we may be tracking down this issue with the heat on the bike. So
Oh, cool.
with a text from Moto Guzzi. So I'm gonna work on what he told me to do and see how that goes. But thanks a lot, man. I owe you a beer or two or some cocktails.
Some Porco Tiki bar.
Some Porco, yeah. What is he? What is the Mind Eraser or something?
Painkillers.
Killer, yeah. Like they always
Yeah.
talk about level 3 painkiller.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I couldn't avoid thinking about Phil. I was in Tucson because there was this place. So I was in Tucson for work. Our pilots were doing some training with the Air Force, and I was on the night shift. So our shift would go out for lunch together, just about every day. And as we drive out to lunch, there was this tiki bar on the way out of the base, like right out off the base. Every day we drive past this place, and I would see that place and think of Phil.
Right. It's funny because I'm not a big drinker, so for me, like sipping on a beer all night long, or maybe having a mixed drink, but I do like Jägermeister for some reason. I like the way it tastes. I like any of that Anise licorice stuff, Sambuca, all that. But I went out with a bunch of the guys I used to work with for a party the other night, and somebody hands me a glass of something brown, light brown, and I don't do. And I smell it, and right away it's like that whiskey smell, and I'm like, "What is this?" They're like, "Oh, it's Jameson. It's really good." I'm like, "Nah, no thanks." Like, you want to see me heaving on the table? I'll drink this. But some of the drinks that they talk about from Porco's, they just sound delicious.
I'm
like,
sure they're
yeah,
I'm sure they're phenomenal.
right. I'm like, I gotta try that. Me, as such a lightweight that I am, I would probably be knocked out after one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a drink in probably 5 years. So, like when I go out with everybody from work, with the one, especially like when they don't realize that I don't drink, once they
Right.
find out, I'm like, yeah, dude, even if I did decide that I was gonna have a drink, like I'm the only one that I'm the one that drove here, and you get one drink in me, and I am done.
Right.
Like it's not like friends of mine are like they go have a beer and they're fine. Like there's no change, just a beer, whatever. You give me a beer, I'm done. Like especially if it's the kind of beer that I like to drink, like microbrew, high alcohol
Right.
content.
My wife and I were at this attraction in Florida, the Bach Tower, and they had like a little restaurant, and they were serving. And I like fruity stuff, and they had some blueberry beer called Wild Blue.
Hmm.
It's got a really high alcohol content, and I drank one. I'm like, man, this thing is really good. And I go to stand up, and I was dizzy. I'm like, I felt like such a girl. She's like, are you kidding me? You had one beer, and I'm like, yeah, but it's got a lot of alcohol in it. I was like, I'm really dizzy. It's funny.
It's got a
Yeah,
lot of alcohol, and I have a vagina.
Anyway.
I would be terrible. I mean, just if I went out with Phil to Porco and had like half a painkiller, that would be enough I'd be done. Just sign me off for the rest of the night. I'm going to sleep.
There was something I tried not too long ago too that was kind of it was like a chocolatey type thing, and
Was it a chocolate stout?
no, and I've had those. There's one company that makes a chocolate beer, and then you mix it with that Lindemann's Framboise, that kind of cherry thing. It's like a chocolate cherry beer. Those are kind of good. But no, this was like a mixed drink, and I forgot what it was in. It wasn't a chocolate martini. It was something else. And those were those type that you can drink, and they don't taste like alcohol. They don't. Right. So pretty soon you've had a bunch of them, and you're kind of completely inebriated. So for me, it's like 1.5. And
Right.
I'm done. All right, so it's like 9 o'clock my time here, and
Yeah.
I think we've kind of talked about the
We've covered the things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that I wanted to talk about.
You asked about events. I'll throw one more out there. I mentioned the Progressive International Motorcycle Show in Long Beach. Well, it turns out it's November 14th through 16th, so it's a month and a half away.
That's right around the corner.
I'm really hoping to be there. I don't know exactly
Speaking of events, this weekend is Overland Expo East as we speak right now. Michael sent me a text. I sent him a text last night. He said it was going good. They had a little bit of rain, but it was fun. And
shout
I said,
out to
what
Mike.
was the attendance like? He said they had 2,000 campers.
Nice.
So for the first year, that's great.
That is really good.
That's in Asheville. So next year, I'm gonna hopefully we can be at one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, AIM Expo is coming up the weekend after Barber. Neither one of us are going to be at the Barber Vintage Motorcycle.
Nope.
Listen, if you go though, get the ticket for the Ace Cafe experience. Go to that, and you'll really enjoy it. That's that corner there is the best place to see the racing at Barber. Is where the Ace Cafe was. Old Soul Youngblood will be there. Vintage Iron Club will have a booth there. Certainly Ace Cafe and a lot of our friends with the different builders. I think Loaded Gun Customs will be there again. Dime City Cycles. So it should be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, neither one of us can make it this year, but I will be at the AIM Expo. So if you see me there, come say hi. I should be in the Ace Cafe area most of the time if I'm not out doing a demo ride. And that's it.
Right.
And hopefully this
Yeah.
week I'll get Mark McKee on the line and we'll talk about what's going on there.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody that's supporting us on Patreon. You guys really are making this show possible. The place to go if you want to get involved with that is patreon.com/Cafe Racer Podcast. Or if you just look up on Patreon, just search for Crash. It'll be a thing that says Crash is making podcasts. You just click that, and you can support us. All the rewards, I know, some of you have been supporting for a few months now. All the rewards are definitely in work. We're just a matter of like getting the logo finished up and make some stickers for us, and then I've got stickers from everybody else sitting just to my left over here. So as soon as we get our stickers done, I'll be boxing up or enveloping up stickers and sending them out.
We have some stuff from Kriega too to give away. The other thing was, if you like us, go on iTunes and give us a review. It helps us out a lot. So look for Cafe
one other
Racer
thing.
Podcast.
I know that if most of the listeners, if you guys ride Cafe Racers, a gigantic motorcycle cover isn't really necessary. But if you have a huge motorcycle and want a huge cover, just let me know. We have one, and it moved from Washington to San Diego with me, and we didn't get rid of it. So, if you want a huge motorcycle cover from Empire Covers, it was Empire, right?
Yeah, it's a really nice cover.
Yeah, it's
really,
extremely
really
nice. It's very, very nice.
well over $100.
Yeah, and it's giant. Like it'll fit your full dresser in it.
It fit over the Stelvio completely with room to spare with both of the big bags on there and the tall windshield I have. So it's a great cover. Like I said, it's not really for our most of the people out there, but if you've got a big bike, a dresser, and you want it,
just send an email to feedback@caferacerpodcast.com or hit us up on the Facebook page or on Twitter or whatever. Any of the usual places, just let us know you want it. And if more than one of you is like, oh, I really want this thing, then we'll figure out some way to narrow it down.
All right. I'm good, man. I'm ready to go to bed.
Everybody get out there and ride.
See you later.